Hey,
Hey, how you doing?
good. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. How's the audio sound?
Good.
Cool.
Sounds good on my end.
All right. And we'll just test out the presentation here.
Looks good.
All right, cool. So I heard like 50 people signed up last night.
Yeah, yeah, crazy last minute signups.
Yeah.
No, the only other form fill out I got was from Brian
Who's Ryan?
Arbuckle.
Oh, Brian. Brian. I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah.
you said with an R. Sorry.
Oh, no, Brian. Sorry.
Gotcha.
He filled out the form yesterday.
Nice. Yeah, again, we'll take the content here. How do I make sure it's recording? So we're good.
Yeah.
We'll cut it up and we'll utilize it in different forms.
Yeah, I also thought about maybe taking start of presentation to end of presentation and just posting it on YouTube and then putting out a post that said like if you miss it, like the full recording can be found here. Um,
Cool.
and
Yeah,
then have the full recording posted, and then I can break down just our section into like more digestible, you know, bite-sized pieces where it's not the full like 30, 45 minute video.
great.
Hey guys.
Hey, good morning, Gerard. How are you today?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well, thanks.
Good.
Fantastic.
Thanks again for joining us. We'll be kicking it off here probably a couple minutes after 12.
Yeah, no problem. I have the presentations already set up and the questions that may be asked. So I'm ready to roll.
Awesome.
Cool.
And you're gonna be running, who's gonna be running it?
I'll be
Yeah.
controlling the slides and
Okay.
Bree will be the moderator for the questions when it gets to that point.
Am I just gonna tell you, hey, move to the next slide? Is that what I'm doing?
Oh, so let's test it out here real quickly. You can see we'll go to slides here. And just echo back. You can hopefully see that.
I can see your slide.
Okay, great. So if you click on the screen, I'll see your name. Go ahead, click.
I just clicked.
Oh, I didn't see it. Huh.
Do I have to give it something? Do I have to raise my hand?
No, that's great. I'm glad we're testing this. That's kind of funky.
Do I have to click on my name?
There we go.
I'm clicking on it right now.
All right. So the other day when we were testing it with Brad, when he clicked, the name kind of came across the screen. I could see him doing something. So if that's not going to happen,
Do I just yell, "Hey, change the screen"?
Yes.
yeah, I guess you could say, so when we get to your piece, I'm going to try to gauge off. I'll put the first thing up there. And as I see or hear you talking about the last element to that piece. So for instance, if I hear, as you go through unburden IT staff, I know this is Brad's slides, but I will look to just pace off of you. If I'm going too slow, then let me know. But I'll look to pace off of you. After you get done talking about unburdened IT staff, I'll look to cue it up to the next slide.
About something like.
If I am going too slow, you could just say next.
Yeah, you know what? I thought there was a kind of not an arrow, but can you see it now?
I don't.
But there was a laser that I could use just to kind of put it in the corner, Bing, when I want to, Bing. Okay. So I'm hoping, is Steph Turner, is she one of us?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
she is. Yep. Hey, Steph.
Okay.
Hey.
Remember. Okay, no problem. So and you know what, I'm sure Gerald's gonna be getting on here any minute. But I will tell you this, I know Brad, I may be taking over Brad's slides. Brad had to get on a plane this morning with one of our owners and go to a pretty hot customer that needed us there today.
Gotcha. Okay.
I may be taking over his slides, but no issue. I don't, I have those up and I'm versed in what Brad's role is in our company as well. So, but you know what? He may get on. I'm just telling everybody, I'm not trying to, throw a wrench in it, but
Okay. So when I go to introduce, if I don't see Brad has joined by 12:02 here, like 4 minutes, I'll introduce you, Gerard.
okay. You're probably gonna just use first names, so just do it, Gerard.
I am. I didn't
Okay.
want to butcher your last name. Hello, folks. If you've joined, we will be kicking off our session in just a couple more minutes. So if you wouldn't mind, please hold and we will begin momentarily. So good afternoon, good morning, folks. If you've just joined and you hear silence, it's not your phone. We will be kicking off our webinar in just another minute or so. If you don't mind, please bear with us and we will join momentarily. All right. So quick shout out, Gerard. It looks like Brad has not joined, so I'll be handing off to you once we begin. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds
Great.
good.
Wonderful. Okay, folks. This is Kevin Husselbeck today, coming to you from New York City's backyard. I appreciate your time and you joining us for today's webinar on collaborative success. We will kick off today's session and we will try to be judicious with your time and appreciate your engagement as we go through this. We will have questions queued up. So if you happen to have questions as we go through this webinar, please share them on the chat. And Bree will be curating those questions and we will be asking those at several different points on the call. So feel free to interrupt us if there is an immediate question that you have, and we will try to address that question on the fly as well. So let me just kick it off here real quickly and just clear the air and also do some housekeeping. If you wouldn't mind, put your phone on do not disturb or mute so that we don't have any background noise while we go through the webinar. And a quick safe harbor statement: while neither of the companies today presenting are public, should they be tied up into any kind of developments in the future, we have the safe harbor statement just clarifying that today's presentation will be purely for thought and or discussion, and none of this will be worthy of being put into contracts or into any kind of future discussions as far as contracts. But by all means, we are hoping that we have a good conversation today, an engaging discussion around a variety of topics. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our partners today. Green Office Partners has been a partner with UnleashU for the past year or so. We would like to introduce Gerard, who's going to take us through the first half of today's call. And Gerard, the presentation is all yours.
Excellent, excellent. And from time to time, you may hear me say, "Okay, next slide." Kevin is running the slideshow. So basically, as you see on your screen right now, who is Green Office Partner? Well, we are an international provider of managed print and managed print services, solutions, software, different pieces of hardware, office pieces of hardware. And what does that mean? Is that in your office, you have multiple devices, whether they're computers, whether they're printers, fax machines. Well, fax machines are starting to go a little passé, but fax machines, anything like that, we handle the print and the solutions that go along with the print and document workflow within your environment. And like this slide says, we are international. We have offices all over the United States. We have partners all over the United States. Plus, we deal directly with the manufacturers themselves. So we have a lot of partners throughout the country and throughout the world. We serve clients from single offices to multiple offices. We have customers that have offices in almost every state, and we handle every one of their devices or every one of their offices in all the states. So that's really who Green Office Partner is. Thank you. Next slide. What's the benefits of print services? Well, we're going to walk through a few of these right now, and you'll see that it can boost productivity. It frees up resources. It enables predictable budgeting. It allows hardware consolidation and offers a long-term solution. And why do we go in? Well, basically, let me step back a little bit. So we have all these things that a print service does. Well, how do we get to that? How do we know how to be predictable in budgeting and stuff like that? Well, we do print assessment. And we ask the question, why get a print assessment with Green Office Partner? Well, here's a few things. The first thing is it increases your productivity, meaning you get more production. When we go through and we do a full assessment, we pick out things that'll make you more productive. We will help you with understanding how to make your environment more efficient, hence increasing productivity. We improve environmental impact, meaning we try to take away the waste that a lot of times happens when you're in a business environment that you have a lot of prints going on. We've all been there. We've all seen where you print the document and next thing you know, you're like, oh, I have a change I have to make. We can help to curb that so that way things aren't just sitting up at the copier all day until somebody comes up and throws them away, or printed out and they're just sitting there waiting for somebody and nobody picks them up and then they get tossed away. So those are the types of things that we can help improve. We decrease cost by doing that kind of understanding of how things can be printed and looking at your business processes and seeing how things can be manipulated through your office and make it more efficient. Eventually, that comes down to a cost savings. So, and then we unburden your IT staff. And if anybody on this call is in IT, they know you get a printer call. Sometimes you're working on that silly printer call for half the day, trying to figure out, okay, why isn't this printing? Or having to load drivers and things like that. Well, Green Office Partner kind of relieves that need to have IT staff all the time working on printers. We kind of take some of that burden away. So anyways, next slide, please. How our assessment works. Well, the first thing we do is we meet with leadership. We go in, we work with the management team to understand the goals. We identify the primary objectives of the assessment, and we understand the company goals. And let me stick with that for just a second. When we mean that, we actually get in and say, okay, why do we want to do this assessment? What are the things that are driving the assessment? And usually that's a company goal, usually it's a company goal that they get feedback from the users. As well, it may be a financial goal they're trying to hit. So those are the things we do when we meet with the leadership. We look at and when we document all the objectives and challenges, and we work with the users, meaning we don't just go talk to one or two people and say, oh, you guys need, this and that and the other thing. We do a full walkthrough. We go through, we talk to the users, we talk to the management, we inspect all the devices. We make sure that we understand what your current environment is. We don't want to start projecting what we think you should have before we even know what you currently have. Sometimes it's just a tweak here and there. Sometimes it's a full, hey, you know what? You need to do this and you need to do this, and it's kind of encompasses everything. But we do that full, and we do that full connection with and we go through all the challenges and objectives. We then, after we get our discovery done, and we actually present our discovery to the leadership, meaning we don't just we give them facts. These are the facts that we know about your environment. These are the things that we're hearing from your users. These are the issues that we saw with your devices. Like I said, it's not just about us thinking we know what you want. It's really finding that out. And that's really what we do when we have a print assessment. We go through everything. And then at the end of these conversations, we reach an agreement and we find a way to move forward. Meaning, hey, if what we presented to you of your current findings, of what users have said, of what people are, how they're using devices and printing and stuff like that, if we can resolve these issues that you're having, is this something that we can move forward with? So we get that. We don't want to sit there and just start forcing things. We want to make sure we have buy-in and that we have a true partner in who we deal with. So, and so what we do when we bring on a customer, we have basically 8 steps that we follow through. The first one is we complete the print assessment, which we kind of just talked about. We go through, we work through an assessment, we talk to the users, we do that kind of thing. We just had a big slide on that. Second thing we do is we finalize the agreement, meaning we go through after the assessment, we make sure that the numbers work, that everybody's on board, and that we try to resolve any issues or any questions that come up prior to us engaging or more. We do, then what happens is that we get our installation team and on our alignment meeting. So what happens is that the sales person or the company exec rep that's talking to your account reps, that's talking to your users, that's doing that. We bring all that information back to our installation team and we do a full walkthrough of how this installation is going to go. We then bring on the product and solutions team to this so that way we can understand how the information is going to flow through from not only the sales team and the installation team, but also service and internally. Then once we have our ducks in a row, because just to let everybody know, every assessment is different and every customer is different. So we also have to make sure that our plans, our project plans work as well. We then, after we have our plans done, we then bring on the customer into our project and we walk the customer through how things are going to go. We introduce them to all the parties, whether it's the installation team, whether it's the sales rep or the service tech or the project manager. Then we talk about the equipment delivery. We schedule the equipment delivery for all the locations. Maybe it's one location, maybe it's 5 locations, maybe it's 100 locations in multiple states. We go through and we work the logistics out with that. And then we go through the installation we do the installation exactly. We follow the plan that the customer was part of. We go through all that plan. We do all the installation. We do all the training. And then our final step is that we do a customer follow-up. So once all this is done, we are constantly in contact with the customer. So we are in constantly contact with the same people that we started off this whole process with, so that way everybody is on the same page as we move ahead, as we move forward. People ask, how can you transition from what we're currently doing to your way of doing things or your systems or your solutions? Well, we have 6 ways to transition to a green office partner. First one, we have refreshes. Refreshes are, you know what, if you're currently a customer with us, we're refreshing the equipment. We move through that as if, hey, we already know pretty much what you have. We're just kind of refreshing the equipment, updating it, things like that. Early contract termination, meaning you have you're in the middle of a contract, but you want to get out of it and you want to make sure that you have something that can fulfill that equipment or those needs that you currently have. Maybe you're upset at a current vendor. I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying that could happen. Or maybe a vendor decides that, you know what, they're just they can't support you like they thought they could. It's time to have an exit plan to get out of that. The other thing is add-ons. You have an environment that you have our devices, you have all that. We have a way of simply adding on devices where needed and making them either part of the current plan, making part of the current service, whatever. But all these, what we're getting to is all these have a different way of approaching, but the end result's the same. And then we have service on non-contracted devices. You may say that you have a bunch of devices that you own, you don't want to get rid of them, but you need service on them. Well, we can provide that as well. We do service on multiple types of devices. We don't have to sell you the equipment. However, it does work better when it's together, but we do service on multiple devices and it's the same as if, hey, you bought the devices from us. So change of service. Click one more. Yes. So let's say you want to keep, like we just talked about, the current devices under a current lease agreement, but you want to change who your service provider is. Well, most of the time in a lease, there is service that's included in that lease. Well, we can you can continue to pay for your equipment in that lease, and we can break away that service and take over the service on your current lease. So we do have ways to do that. We help transition that over. And then your service relationship management, let's say that the situation, you're struggling to manage multiple MPS contracts across a number of locations. Green Office Partner has the ability to organize those contracts. And I know that happens more often than not, where you have 10, 20 different contracts, 30 different contracts that are all over the place, but yet you're trying to keep up with them, you're trying to organize them. Green Office Partner has a way of going through, organizing them, keeping them in a way that makes it easy for you, the customer, to manage those. So anyways, that is the print document printer part of the presentation. We go beyond though printers and copiers. We get to the software and other types of devices that may not be printer copier related, but have something to do with your business workflow. So we do document management systems. You may ask, what is a document management system? You may know what it is. Right now, you may be keeping all your documents in Google Drive or OneDrive or SharePoint. What we do is we put in a system that allows you to manage your document at a enterprise level, meaning it can automatically, we can scan a document, pull information off that document, populate the fields for that document, and then store that document automatically without you doing anything but walking up to one of the devices, hitting the scan button. It reads the document, reads things off of it, pulls it in, and then stores it in an organized fashion where instantly it's able to get to other people based on their credentials. Once again, we just kind of did this in one statement, but we do have key features. We have centralized storage, advanced search and retrieval, version controlling, meaning you could have 5 different versions of something without having to worry about keeping track of those versions. The system does that automatically. And one of the key points of this whole thing is we can automate that. We can automate all these workflows where you don't have to worry about taking a piece of paper, putting it into a folder, taking that folder, dragging it to somebody's desk. We can actually have a workflow that automatically follows that document to desk to desk to desk. And guess what? We can automatically audit that document of where it's been, who's touched it, who's looked at it, who's deleted it, let's say, because sometimes these things come up all the time about where is the Smith file? Oh, I don't know, so-and-so had it on their desk. No more do you have to worry about that. It's all audited and where it's at, and it's stored electronically. So once again, we reach an agreement to move forward. We work with your team to understand your documentation. So cloud fax solutions. You remember at the beginning of this, I said fax machines, they're kind of passe in what they are. Well, faxes aren't going away. It's just the devices are now being transitioned to more cloud, where before you would use a device, a fax machine, you'd walk up to it, you'd hit your document in, you'd then type in the number, and then boom, it goes to another fax machine. Now you can do it right from your office. You can click to the next. Yes, here you go. So sending a fax is as easy as going to your email or opening up a document, clicking on the fax icon on your desktop. It pops up a number. That number you put in, just like it's a phone number or a fax machine, it knows how to take that document and send it to a fax machine or send it to another system like yours. And don't confuse this with email. The difference between faxing and emailing is that email still has vulnerabilities, many more vulnerabilities than faxing. Even e-faxing has compliances that it has to meet. A lot of financial institutions, legal institutions, medical institutions still have to use fax because it's the safest way to send a file. So once again, I kind of went through this. You don't need to have a fax machine. It eliminates the need to have all different kinds of devices. You can just use your computer, or it can hook in directly to your current device that you have now without using a phone line. So now moving on to secure print solutions. This is what these are. These are, once again, you print a document out and you're rushing up to that printer to grab that document so no one else sees it. What secure print does, it allows you, it protects sensitive data and prevents unauthorized access. What that means, you can print all day long and the print will not be released until you walk up to that device and you put in your code or you slide your badge over that device. And there you go. It has all of your prints ready to be printed. No one else can see them. It doesn't print out until you want them to print out. It also it also supports secure remote and mobile printing so that way, when you are working with your document, and nowadays everybody uses a phone or an iPad or a tablet. Not everything is done on a computer. Having secure print enables you to print securely from that device to a secure print device, so that way when you walk up to the device, and I keep saying device, but when you walk up to the printer, all you have to do is release it from your cell phone or from your tablet, or take a picture of a QR code on the device and then release it knowing that you're at that device. One more thing that this allows you to do is that it allows the document to follow you. So you could print to what we call a follow me queue all day long. And at the end of the day, let's say that you want to you go up to your printer and it's down, it's broken for some reason. The cool thing about the follow me is that I can go to the device that's maybe down the hallway and with a flick of the button, print out all those prints, all my prints to that device. It doesn't matter what device you walk up to. As long as you are the one releasing it, it'll print your documents at the device that you're standing in front of. So anyways, another thing that we have been very successful with is doing full business workflow analysis. We just talked about two or three different types of technologies. Well, what we do is we go in and we go through your office and we do a full business workflow analysis. We look at your documents, we look at how people interact with computer systems, we look at how they interact with all your devices. We look at your different business process. Let's say it's AP, or let's say it's accounts receivable or something like that. And what we do is we go through and we can map it out, and then we try to fit technology into places that we believe would make that business workflow more efficient. Sometimes it's, like I said, somebody grabbing a piece of paper and putting it into a folder and moving it from one person to another in the office. Well, to me and to a lot of people, that would be like, that's kind of a wasted time for that person. Wouldn't it be easier if we had some automated way for that to move it around the office and have people approve it without having to physically move it to them? So we analyze all that. We come back, we draw out your current workflow. We also then draw out what it could look like if we made some minor changes. Sometimes it's minor changes, but we do have the expertise in our office to kind of look at that in all different departments and see what are the inefficiencies in those departments. And once again, we integrate technology where we can. We are a technology company. However, we use business workflows to enable where technology fits best within that office. And then once again, why business workflow analysis is important. And that is because, as I just kind of went through a little bit, it increases the efficiency. It enhances productivity, meaning there are certain things that you could do with enhancing your flow by putting some technology in that you may not be able to accomplish with just having a human do it. Reduces cost. Yes. What that reduces, I just talked about somebody taking a folder and walking it around to the office, well, that person can be used for other things that may be more important than just walking around a document to everybody in the office. That's what we mean by saving costs, making it more efficient. And then on the last thing, I mentioned this a little bit earlier on the last slide about doing automatic audits. When you have a true business workflow, you can have automatic audits in place. And I do know companies get audited from time to time, whether it's for tax reasons, whether it's for compliancy reasons, whatever that reason may be. Well, now you can have a full report on exactly what's going on with your documents, what's going on with your business workflows, and what's going on with your data. So once again, the same thing we do with when I was talking about the printer side of things, we use almost those exact steps when we're doing a full business analysis and when we're putting in or implementing a solution into your environment, something that goes beyond the printers, or maybe in conjunction with the printers and copiers and scanners and things like that. So we use the same steps as we walk through that. And I hope that I didn't go too fast. And I hope that you understand that we have a method to what we do. We don't just go in and think that we know what we're doing. We go in to try to figure out what you're doing, and then hopefully we can come up with some more efficiencies to make that process a little better. And at this point, I'm going to open it up to any questions. I know I went kind of fast, but if you want, we can revisit stuff. Questions?
Cool, thank you. I do have a couple here for you to answer.
Go
So
ahead.
if someone wants to switch to Green Office Partner, how hard is that transition from their current vendor?
Well, I'll tell you, we hold your hand through everything. We will give you the forms that are needed. We will let you know what the next steps are. We don't assume that you know what they are. And to be honest, most vendors are not completely transparent, especially when you're telling them, hey, I want to move off of you. So we will walk you through, because the industry, it's kind of set steps in the industry that have to happen. And so we walk you through those steps.
Well, thank you. What kind of hidden costs do you typically uncover during the print assessment?
Well, you know, that's kind of what do I want to say? Not a difficult question, but a question that has so many facets. But I'll tell you the top ones. We look at your current contracts that you have. We look at the contracts. We look at what you are being charged for. We look at the cost of those charges. Usually, we find discrepancies between the cost of what the industry standard is and what you're currently being charged. The other thing that we do, we look at the usage abuse. Sometimes in current environments, you may not know this, but people are printing stuff that they shouldn't either be printing to a specific type of printer, or there may be a more cost-effective device that they should be sending those big jobs to, as well as, color gets abused all the time. Things that don't need to be in color are being printed in color all the time. And anybody that knows what printer costs are, color does cost a little bit more to print than it does black and white. So those are just a few of the basic things, but those are the examples. We make sure we look at all the different things like that. So.
Okay, great. And if someone wants to use your document management solutions, how much training is involved in that?
Like I said earlier on, we hold your hand through everything, because not only are we putting in a document management system, let's just say, but we are working with you to design that system. So it's hand in hand along the way. And then the usage of the device, we have full training. We also have videos and self-training. We also provide a help desk that you can call and get help on. So there's multiple ways that you can that you can get either self-help, or we're working with you to make sure that you're efficient in using it. Because to be honest, out of all the inefficiencies that we may find, document management, if you're not efficient at using it, then guess what? It's just as inefficient as the other stuff. We want you to use it. We want to make sure that you know how to use it, because once you do it, then you'll see the power of it. So
Thank you. And then last one, if someone wants to switch to you for services, are they able to keep their current equipment, or do they have to switch that as well?
no, you do not have to switch your current equipment. Basically, what we can do is we can take over the service on multiple types of equipment. We do this quite often, and hopefully at the end of life on these devices, we then can provide you with new devices if needed. If not, if you want to continue to keep using those devices, we'll continue to provide service. We are a sales and service organization. So
Awesome. Thank you. Kevin, I will throw it back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bree. All right, so we are now in the second half of today's session. Appreciate your time and thoroughness, Gerard, in covering the first half of today's conversation. It is relevant in a number of ways as far as process automation, and then ultimately what I'm going to take over the mic on is network optimization, and then ultimately how we believe AI is going to ripple through employee productivity. And so before we jump into that, let me go a little bit further into who UnleashU is, and then give you a little bit more explanation about what we do and how we see ourselves as being a little bit different in the marketplace. So a little bit about us. We are a dynamic managed solutions partner, and I stress partner as opposed to provider. A lot of people see MSPs out there as being just managed solutions providers. And us being based in Kansas City, we are across the United States. We are active in approximately 7 to 8 different major industry verticals. So think finance, utilities, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, as well as sports and leisure and travel throughout the United States, continental United States, as well as Alaska. And we have provided services to customers over the past 10 years or so throughout these different industries. And what makes UnleashU different is the how we operate versus a number of the MSPs, and there's thousands of them out there in the marketplace. We believe that knowledge is power, and we share both knowledge and power. And how we do that is a difference that we call empowerment services. So by working alongside of our customers, we're not just going to merely provide them a solution or optimize a solution for them, but we're going to get into the cockpit with them as co-pilots, and we're going to help them in their own operational environments, help them understand their solutions, help them understand their environments, and through dynamic interactions, as well as recording and getting them into labs and doing simulations with them, providing them documentation that's extensible and able to be acquired and then used across a variety of people on their distinctive teams, allows them to get empowered to know their solution and their environments in a way that will help them manage their solutions once we remove ourselves out of the cockpit. So we believe that empowerment services is a different way to go to market. It's not just managed solutions or professional services, but it's the how we do it that is truly differentiated and helps customers get a better overall return on their investment in their solutions. So a little bit about network performance. You know, networking has really taken the front of the stage in a lot of different discussions over the past 5 to 10 years, and because it's really almost the oxygen that operations exist on today. And so when you suck out the oxygen of a room, you can see everybody kind of starting to have a hard time breathing. They can't make their operations run effectively without the networking. And so 3 major issues that we've seen obviously drive networking to its prominence, and then obviously its criticality to operations. First and no-brainer here is cloud adoption. Now, this isn't just the, hey, we've seen cloud adoption at the enterprise level, and hey, you might be at AWS or Azure, but what we've seen is the cloud adoption workloads. 50% of workloads have gone all the way up to 90+% of workloads being in the cloud. And now that's changed how you get your operations running and then optimized, because all your operations and your workloads are in the cloud. The second is SaaS, so software as a service. Obviously, it's tied to the cloud. Most of your applications nowadays are based in the cloud. So how do you get to that? Through your network. Your network has to be optimized and has to be running at a level that's going to allow you to then work your operations, and then obviously make sure that those applications that sit in the cloud are going to be optimized. And then third, we've had this major transformation of the workforce where they used to be remote 5 years ago, give or take. It went hybrid, and then we also now returned back to office. We have this situation where even contractors and or partners are an extension of the workforce. So how does the network enable that workforce to be productive? And we'll talk a little bit about AI in a moment here, but there's this giant element of how that workforce needs the network to really be productive and or creative. And so we're seeing that there's several different factors that our customers that we've interacted with over the past several years are having struggles and or opportunities to optimize their networking. First is assess and audit your firm's applications. It's shocking how often we work with our clients and we find applications that they either don't know they have, or they had, but they aren't using them to their optimal level. So assess and audit your firm's applications. We can do this with you. We can document, we can help you demystify what you have for applications, and then obviously leverage those applications to the optimal level that your operations truly need them. Second, clean up both how the people and the devices connect to your network. So it's shocking, but a lot of times people have devices that are connecting into their networks that don't know about, either they haven't had a secure element assessed on their network, or they have east-west traffic that's not partitioned properly. So therefore they have cybersecurity risks as to people getting onto a network, not knowing who is on the network, and then going anywhere they want on the network. So again, we can help you clean up both what's there, how it's used, and then who and what connected devices need to go where. And then drive tighter linkages between your organizational attachments. So I reference HR and IT here, but you can have any of the different organizational units, whether it's maybe production and or finance, but HR and IT are critical ones in the sense that we find a lot of overlaps between the two, whether HR is looking to either hire more people or they just offloaded several different people off of payroll and they didn't let IT know. Unfortunately, their access is still open on the network. And so, closing down those type of things are critical, but it takes linkages between the two different operational units to really optimize how the network's being used or prevent poor utilization of your network. So a little bit more about what we've seen just recent in the latest quarter here. An organization called GTIA, which is the Global Technology Industry Association, just produced a report that highlighted the top 4 items that they think are going to be growth players in the networking space. And so, what we highlight to customers when we talk to them is, do you have a plan for accommodating for where the growth is going to come on your network and or where the risk is going to come on your network? So we strongly suggest customers have a plan, even if that's 12 months old, dust it off, assess it. How is that plan or that vision ready to be optimized to the next level that you're going to touch your IT information? It could be applications, it could be scaling your network, it could be cybersecurity. But again, AI, cloud, cybersecurity, and what we think is digital marketing, albeit it slipped down the list to 4th. These top 4 things are going to drive a change, and you should probably have a plan to accommodate them. There might be more growth, you're already doing it, or it might be a dramatically different change as to how you're doing cybersecurity, for instance, that is going to ripple through your networking. Ensure your network components are both modular and scalable. So how your network components are a piece of the puzzle, make sure that you know those puzzle pieces and then that you can scale them accordingly. And then last but not least is build cross-functional alliances with all your departments and your job functions. Again, back to HR and IT, it's a great example of how your departments use the network. If you know that the network is critical to all the different departments and they have an ROI or a certain benefit relationship to the network, it makes it easier to get either budget approved or a better ROI as to what your network is doing for all the different parts of the business. So solicit surveys for your cross-department relationships and ask them how they're using the network, why the network's important, and keep that front and center of their brains so that they can then be the advocates you need when you need them. So I also would like to talk a little bit about, as we talked about empowerment earlier and how co-piloting is something UnleashU does that we believe is different in the marketplace. The customers that we continue to work with in the marketplace throughout the United States continue to echo back to us that they're overwhelmed. It's either the speed of change or they're frustrated with their current IT service providers, that they're just maybe coming in and setting up something and then selling them the next asset. Maybe that might be licenses, maybe it's hardware, and then they're departing and they're not there present to make them understand how they can really optimize what they were sold. And that's something different about UnleashU. We look to make sure that when we put a co-pilot into that cockpit with a customer, we align on what their solution will do and ultimately what it needs to do in the contextual knowledge of what they have in their environment today. It's no good to just take a best practice and say that's going to be applicable for everyone. You need to make sure you understand what the contextual knowledge is about that customer. And then we start to partner with them and we build it together in the essence of when we build it together in the cockpit with them, they'll understand what they need to do. We'll understand how it's best used in their environment. And then we can actually show them through simulations and through labs how they can actually optimize it for their best performance. And then we refine it as to any tweaks that we might need to do. And then before we leave the cockpit, we assessed, did that meet their expectations? Our goal is to empower them to make sure that they can fly not just the ship on their own, but they can actually optimize it to the best of their capabilities and on their team. They have more people. It's not just in one person's head, but this is extensible and hopefully something they can leverage in the future. We think the evolution of where managed solution partners is going is more in this space, is taking the control back from maybe an external force and making it more internal to the customer and making that customer front and center. So as we look to evolve into the marketplace here, it's purposeful to talk about AI. We're all talking about whether it's going to replace and possibly either substitute employment opportunities, or is it going to augment? And so there's been a number of things that have been talked about, both in today's conversation as well as I'm sure you've seen in the news over the past couple of years. We're 3 years into this kind of AI gestation as to where it's really percolating through both the networking elements and then ultimately the customer operations. And so the adoption and AI motivations, this is the same GTIA study that was just recently published, kind of highlights it's almost 70% of some capacity of a customer's operations are using AI and seeing some benefit. Maybe it's internal, but what we're seeing here is a lot of the industries that are getting benefits are customer facing. So they're seeing either content marketing is improved through AI or their sales approach. So they're quicker responses to their customers, or they're able to do something that's customer service related so they can get answers to a customer and get customer satisfaction up. Well, on the contrary to that, we're seeing that AI is having little to no effect on ROI for manually intensive job functions. So things that are maybe more hands-on, but less computerized right now, or less automated or virtualized, are having less ability to maximize the return on AI. The quality of the current procedures. So Gerard talked a little bit about process automation earlier in today's conversation. That's critical. And documentation and how you manage your documentation in moving it into a virtual space. If that documentation has not been updated and has gone stale or is outdated or completely wrong, putting AI as an accelerant on top of that will only exacerbate the problem. So you need to make sure that your procedures, your processes, and your documentation are up to date, accurate, and living documents so that you can make sure that that really gets the benefit of AI, which is they're going to improve your systems and your processes. And then last but not least is adoption plan. So how is it operationalized? Throwing just AI into your operations isn't going to magically do something. You need to have a true adoption plan. How are you going to instigate people to use it? How are you going to reinforce their use of it to be a positive thing? And then ultimately, how do you maybe incentivize that? So one of the things that we've talked about as far as hiring goes is customers, and this was almost 70%, their expectations that AI is going to percolate through how they hire, when they hire, and then ultimately who they hire. And so there's an expectation here that the skills that they're looking for, and then ultimately when and how they hire and onboard will change dramatically over the next 12 months. So how AI is going to percolate through this is critical. And so getting an expectation as to how do your operations use AI, and then ultimately how does that improve your processes is critical to the skills and the workforce that you have in that workforce today. So a little bit more, we had another impactful study that came out just this quarter as well. This is actually from TELUS Digital that actually kind of talked about when AI has been introduced to a workforce and has been properly trained and then incentivized. We're actually seeing, ironically enough, people like working with the AI assistants, even more so than some of their coworkers, which is kind of scary in its own right. But almost 60%, and you can see some of these statistics, are all saying that they get their work done better, they get it done faster, and they're a little bit more creative when they're using AI to its full capacity. So how you can get more from your workforce is possibly adding in AI in an effective way in the right organizational structure. But don't be fooled that if you don't do it, it won't happen. And that's the risk of shadow AI. Just like with shadow IT, you need to be aware that if you don't control it, it will still happen. So therefore, if you don't have licensed AI being used on your network, you will still have AI on your network. The problem with that is you might have it going out to publicly facing LLMs, and therefore you could have some sensitive protected information, SPI, going out into the marketplace, and exfiltration of data opens up a whole new cybersecurity risk that you might not want to deal with. So what we strongly suggest is, assess where and how your processes can be improved. Look at automating those. Those processes can then ultimately be improved with AI, and then build some alpha beta tests as to where and how to introduce AI into your processes. And then last but not least, link your AI adoption to key business objectives. Are you going to grow revenue? Are you going to improve customer service? Are you going to be able to change how there's employee satisfaction because they can now get routine activities off of their plates and be more productive? Link it to something and you'll see a better KPI / improvement on the adoption. And we can help you with your journey on that. Like I said before, Gerard had talked about process automation and also some other items about what Green Office Partners can do. UnleashU is excellent at helping customers know their environment better and then unleashing what they can do better in optimizing their network as well as their processes. So Bree, I'll ask you, is there any questions that came in while I was going over my second half of today's session?
I do have a few for you. So first one is just simply, how does co-piloting differ from traditional services?
Great. So hopefully I covered it earlier, but the managed solution providers in the marketplace today tend to see managed solutions and pro services as a great way to either introduce hardware and or maybe some software solutions, but they don't truly get into the cockpit with customers. And that's hence, I think, how we call Copilot is different than the traditional managed solutions partners that are out there in the marketplace. We truly help the customer in the context of what they're in, and then hopefully help them grow and empower them to do it better themselves.
Right. What items have you seen clients tackle to get some early positive returns on their AI projects?
Yeah, good question. I'll make sure that I kind of reinforce that vertical. Industry verticals matter. And so I would not suggest that a utility company that is really hands-on deploy a large language model AI tool to some of their employees. I would say that if we have a customer that's maybe customer facing in a retail, and they have a helpline, and they have people in a customer service role, there's a tremendous opportunity that introducing AI in that situation could enable those frontline workers in that customer service department to really be able to service their customers more effectively. And I would suggest you got to be selective on where and how you introduced AI to your different operational units.
Okay, great. Last one. Are there any recent success stories for process automation projects that you can share?
Yeah, that's a great one. So from a process automation, I'll also throw this to Gerard as well, because I think Green Office Partners has had a lot of success helping customers automate their processes. In recent times, we've been working with a number of customers that have processes around their network control. And so automating some of that network control and then improving it through authentication, as well as the device management, I would say is one easy low-hanging fruit from a process automation that we've helped some customers with. But Gerard, I'd love to get your perspective from a Green Office Partners. What process automation improvements have you guys seen?
Mostly, we see a lot in the AP, AR, accounting side of things. What we found is that there's a lot of manual input when you're in an accounting department, whether it's AP, whether it's AR, you're getting invoices, you're paying invoices, whatever. We've seen a lot, we've done a lot where we can automate that data entry stuff, which then frees up that person to be doing, real stuff rather than data entry kind of things. So we see it a lot of times in the HR, AP, AR accounting departments. So
Wonderful. Yeah, it's a great one because again, taking ergs of effort and or steps in that elongated process flow out and removing them makes the algorithm and the process overall work better. So good stuff. All right. Thanks, Gerard. And thanks, Bria. Any other questions that came in?
Nope, that is all. Thank you.
All right. Wonderful. I'll open it up. Any other questions out there in the forum today before we wrap up? All right. Well, thank you once again for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and your attention. Again, today's collaborative effort was done with both Green Office Partner and UnleashU. There are some QR codes that are up on the screen now that if you'd like, you can connect with us online. And we will be following up with you after today's session with the slides, as well as additional ways that we can link up online. Thank you once again, and have yourself a great rest of the day and a great rest of the month.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is that us?
Yep, that's a wrap.
I think this is us, right? We're the only ones on here right now. Yeah.
Yep.
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 Can we stop
what do you guys-
recording?
Oh.
Let me stop that.